Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa Stringworks Workshop. Goodbye, August. Hello, September. September 1st today, Friday the 1st of September. And it looks like we've already got a few people scrolling up the screen there. Most of those were before we went live. Zappa says good morning. Paul Walton, good morning from Florida. And Ronald Todd, great jam last night. Well, thank you. I hope the group enjoyed it as much as the public did. Well, I am pretty sure we did. We all seemed to have a good time last night. I was probably the most stressed of everybody, and I'm going to tell you about what was behind some of that stress here in a minute. It's that Rosa luck. I don't care what anybody says. It's just nuts. The odds of the things that happen to me, I should be able to win the lottery like 9,000 times a year. It's just nuts. It's absolutely nuts. But you'll hear about that in a little bit. Oh, my t-shirt today says, I'm here because you broke it. I've worn this before, of course. But yeah, that's a constant theme here at the farm. I mean, a constant theme. I should wear this shirt every single day, all day long. Well, Yolanda didn't disappoint. She did a real good job. She was scared to death. She just trembling, basically. And those first two songs, now, they came out better on video than I thought they did. I honestly I was really disappointed. I really thought, man, you're not even going to be able to hear this girl. In the live studio here, she was whispering, man. I mean, she was talking. It seemed like it was like this. It just seemed so quiet. And anyway, she did good, and it came out really fine. The main thing I wanted to tell you about it was that I do have the link to her YouTube video in the description of this video, and I also finally put it in the live concert video. So the link is in both videos now. It's in this one today and the one from last night. Do check it out later. Please don't do it right now, but please check it out later. Oh my gosh, it's just hard to explain how good it is. I mean, it's that good. And if you close your eyes, you will swear it's Patsy Cline singing it. I've heard hundreds of girls sing like Patsy Cline over the years. In fact, just a couple of weeks ago, we had a gal show up at a jam in Newburgh, and that's all she sang was Patsy Cline, and she did good. I mean, she was really good, and the crowd just loved her. But I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, she's just overdoing it. She's, trying too hard, etc. And it's just, it's good, but see, I'm a critic, and I shouldn't be a critic because I can't do what I always ask other people to do. You know what I'm saying? But I know good from bad, and I know right from wrong, etc., and so forth when it comes to music. And anyway, I was not impressed. It was good. It was fine. There was nothing wrong with it, but it wasn't that. It just didn't catch my ear, if you will. Well, this girl, especially if you listen to the clip I have in this video, it will catch your ear. I guarantee you. And the thing about it is, it just rolls off her lips. She's not trying to sound like Patsy Cline. She just sings, and it sounds like Patsy Cline. She just lets it come out. She's not pushing or trying. That's the thing that I think most gals do, is they try too hard. And, I'm guilty of that myself. I try too hard sometimes. But anyway, it's pretty interesting, and I think she enjoyed it, but she was scared, man. Telling you, she was scared. I'm going to give you the same advice in case you're a new musician out there, a new struggling musician, if you will. I'm going to give you the same advice that I gave her right after she sang her two songs. And I tried to be encouraging. I tried to make this sound positive, not negative. And I explained that to her. I said, I'm not being critical here at all. I just want to give you some advice that I think will help you out in future shows and stuff. And again, this is going to start to sound a little sexist or something. It's going to sound a little, weird, but it's a very, very good example and a very meaningful example if you'll listen to the meaning behind it. And here it goes. That is, being on stage is, to me, exactly like being pregnant. You can't be partially pregnant. You can't be sort of pregnant. Well, that's the same way as being on stage. When you're performing, you can't be sort of on stage. You can't be partially on stage. You can't be kind of there. You're there. So you might as well make the best of it. They're going to hear you either way. If you sing light and wimpy, they're going to hear light and wimpy. If you sing strong and clear and everything, they're going to hear strong and clear. Either way, they're going to hear you. It's just like being pregnant. You can't be sort of there. It's just, that's the way it is. You're there. So get after it and do it, And so that's what my advice to every, musician or, learning or aspiring musician is to know that and take that to heart, because it's the truth. There's nothing more black and white than I've just told you right there about being on stage. There you go. Let's see. And of course, everybody has an opinion, and you just heard mine. The next thing here, I was going to tell you about the problems and why I was a nervous wreck, man, because it wasn't about the music at all. I wasn't worried about the music part. Although when you start thinking about all these other problems, it messes up your music, and that's the problem with that. And that's how I think I screwed up the Highway 40 blues at the beginning there. But anyway, what happened yesterday? Now, I want to set the stage first. Keep in mind, this is the 132nd Shop Talk. So there's 132 of those. I have over 300 daily vlogs and, countless other uses of this same software that we're using right now, just countless other ones. And I've started the program countless times because of, just getting ready for those same 300 and 130. You have to, you start the program a bunch of times, you go to it and you work on it and all that. Okay, so just know that. So thousands of times I've clicked on this icon. Well, when I clicked on the icon yesterday, now this was a few hours before the show, so I had time. But this time it says, let me even set the stage a little bit more. I had already got it all ready. Everything was completely done. I was done with it. I had rearranged all the furniture. I'd set all the programs, did everything I needed, went to the house. I thought I'll go up to the house and relax and and eat my lunch, and then I'll come back down here, right? And so I came back down around 2:30, something like that, thinking everything's done, I don't have to do anything. I was just going to practice some of my songs and stuff. Well, I opened this program, and the program opens up, and it says, "We can't find your scenes, so we're going to create new ones." That's the first time out of thousands of times I've used this program, it's done that. If you don't know what a scene is everything you see, like this, or like that. Every single thing you see is a scene, and it deleted all of them. All the ones I had prepared for last night's show, they were all gone. I had to recreate them from scratch. Fortunately, it was like 2 o'clock. All right, so now, this is not the end of the story. So now I think, all right, I've got it all straightened back out. I was a nervous wreck at this point. So it was 4 o'clock. So I thought, all right, fine. I'm going to go up to the house and I didn't get to practice my songs or anything. I thought, I'm just going to go up to the house and relax. I'm going to eat a little short dinner, and then I'll come back down here 5:30, something like that. Well, the moment I said that to myself, that I'm going to go up to the house, keep in mind, it's 4 o'clock now. I'm going to go to the house, I'm going to relax. The moment I said that, and I actually started to stand up like this, the electric went off. I mean, the whole thing went off, everything. So I'm thinking, what did that ruin? Well, I had to wait around another 15 minutes or so to get everything running again, get the programs in the background set up correctly. There's a billion things you got to do. So I got it all ready. Now it's about 4:15, so I go back up to the house thinking, well, I at least recovered. It's okay. So then, I get back down here, and now it's 7 o'clock. The clock is ticking down on my screen here, and it's, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. So about 4 or 3 is when I click on it, because it takes a few seconds for it to get going. And that way I come in live exactly on time, or pretty darn close. So I did that. Pops up an error message. It says something about we didn't go live or something like that. I mean, and I'm going. So then I knew what the problem was, though, and something I never thought to check. But when the electric went off, the computer, for the routers and all that stuff, assigned a different IP address to this computer. And fortunately, I know about this, so I was able to go in and fix it really quick, and we got it up within 30 seconds or a minute or something. But that's all the stress that I had yesterday, just trying to, and then the whole time I'm thinking, is the electric going to go back off? Is this stupid computer going to say something stupid again? The whole time I'm thinking this, because I don't want to screw up the show. I want it to go pretty well. So that's the stress I had on my brain when I'm trying to, and then you got to remember all these songs, and you got to get people, it's just, I'm telling you, it's just not easy being me. And you can believe what you want, but it's just not easy being me. So anyway, it came for the shape. It's kind of like that old saying, for the shape I'm in pretty good shape. Well, for the shape I was in, we did all right, I think. It came out okay. The comments were really nice. I thank you all for all your support and for the donations and things. Leon, he drives 2 hours to get here. And a couple of the other ones are driving 40 minutes, to get here. And so, it helps pay the gas and that sort of thing. So we do appreciate the donations and things. And like I said, YouTube takes 30% of that right off the top. So $100, we get 70, and then you got to split that 4 ways or 5 ways or whatever it is. Anyway, enough of that. I just wanted to fill you in on why I'm so stressful. Here's a little short commute on the way to work here this morning. Well, it's almost a frosty morning this morning. It's only 51 degrees. I just thought I'd show you quickly the way the yard turned out after pulling out all the trees. There's still a few little bare spots and things, but it's filling out. You really can't tell those trees were ever there now. And the sidewalk's much better as well as far as level. Even though it's not perfect, there's still a little bit of a, unlevelness to it. But far better than it was. And we're just going to commute down to work. Nice and brisk out here. I love the fall weather. I think aren't these coleus or something like that? This plant here. You can see where it's got some kind of a flower going on there. Can you hear the squirrel chattering? Of course, he stops as I say that. You could hear him just a teeny bit. He wasn't real loud. Squirrels can really chatter. By the way, so in case you're wondering, this is the ditch line I'm talking about, running my conduit all the way from down there and running it up to the house. It's going to be a job. But that's better than trying to, trench through all this mess. And it would be nearly impossible. So you just do what you got to do. I love being out here in the very early morning. It's quiet and still. The air's cool and clear. And you can see the moon up there. There's been a lot of astronomical events this month. I haven't paid real close attention to them, but I know there's been several things have happened. Now, is it just me, or are those trees starting to change color, or is that just the sun? I can't tell. I can tell there's something going on there, you know, in my color blindness, they look like they're more tinted red today, but that could just be the sun. I don't know. It's really difficult to know when you're colorblind what's going on. There's the old dump truck. That's going to be one of my next projects after we get this hay cut, and we, you know, I have to get that mower fixed yet. And here's the shop. Yeah, I just have a few things to do, not to mention the water wheel project and all that too. And we just had a big load of gravel delivered for that project yesterday. I'm going to try to keep moving forward with that project, but it's probably honestly going to be on hold for a little while because I just got so much on the plate that has to be done quickly. I need to get that hay cut. If we're going to do it at all, it's got to be done in the next few days or it's just not going to be worth doing. Hay can, you know, it can start to turn and just not be good after a little while there. And it's already on the edge, so I need to get it done. Let's see, what else? I think that's it so far this morning. We had a few requests that we didn't get to, and I thought, what the heck, I'll try a couple of them, and if I mess these up, well, too bad. I'll do my best. Somebody asked for Bringing Mary Home. I was driving down a lonely road on a dark and stormy night when a little girl by the roadside showed up in my headlight. She stopped, she crawled in the back, and in a shaky tone she said, "My name is Mary, please won't you take me home?" She must have been so frightened alone there in the night. There was something strange about her, for her face was deathly white. And she sat there pale and quiet in the backseat all alone. And I never will forget that night I took Mary home. I pulled into the driveway where she told me to go. I got out to help her from the car, then I opened up the door. But I just could not believe my eyes, for the back seat was bare. So I looked all around the car, but Mary wasn't there. Then a light shone from the front porch, someone opened up the door. And I asked about the little girl that I was searching for. The lady gently smiled as she brushed a tear away. And she said, "It sure was nice of you to go out of your way. But 13 years ago tonight in a wreck just down the road, our darling Mary lost her life, and we miss her so. Thank you for your trouble and the kindness you have shown. You're the 13th one that's been here bringing Mary home." Great old song written by Mr. John Duffy of the original Seldom Seen. John Duffy was my hero, man. I just loved to hear him play mandolin. Now, the weird thing about it is, I don't think on anybody's list he'd make the top two or three best mandolin players. He wouldn't be there. But he was really my favorite mandolin player, and it wasn't because he was so good at playing mandolin. It's because every single time he played some crazy break that he played, it put a smile on your face. He just played the weirdest little breaks and the weirdest little riffs, and it just was amazing. And he had the most unique tenor singing voice ever. I just absolutely love John Duffy because he just put it all out there. He was just like what I was telling you a minute ago. You're all the way on stage, go for it, And that's what John Duffy always did. Let's see. Another request was for Phantom 614. I'll tell you a quick story about this song. It's a very odd name for a horse, but that was the horse's name, Phantom 614. In fact, when this song went out on the Prime Cuts of Bluegrass, one or two of the DJ's comments was, "This is stupid. Nobody would name a horse Phantom 614." And I'm like, well, sorry, but we did. Now here's the story behind it. This was a beautiful black stallion with two white back feet. In other words, he had white up on his ankles about that far. He had a little star, he had a blaze down his face. A white strip right down his middle of his face. Everything was perfectly symmetrical, and I'm seriously telling you, he was one of the most beautiful horses you would ever see in your whole life. He was that gorgeous. And in fact, he ended up winning the World Championship model horse for the Missouri Foxtrotting Horse Breed Association, which was a big deal. I mean, there's a lot of horses entered in that, and he won. So, he was that kind of beautiful. And the other thing about it was whenever I would ride him through, now you got to remember, I was a teenager at this time, probably 16, something like that, 17. And whenever I would ride him through a crowd of people, and these horse shows some of them back then were really big, and there'd be hundreds of people. And I'm not kidding you, it was like that old E.F. Hutton commercial, if some of you remember that. Whenever you'd mention that name, everybody'd stop and stare and look. Well, that's exactly the way it was when you'd ride this horse through. Everybody just stopped doing what they were doing, and they just look at that horse, and they just follow him with their eyes because he was that gorgeous. And anyway, so there's that part of the story. The other part of the story was that horse and my dad did not get along at all. And my dad just go near him, and that horse would just start getting aggravated, just couldn't. It was just, if you remember the old Fury show with Joey riding Fury, and Fury was the only person that could really handle, Joey was the only person that could handle Fury, and if anybody else got on him, Fury'd throw him off, that kind of thing, or chase him down, or whatever, if he was a bad guy. Well, that's kind of the way Phantom was. He was a one-man horse, and I'm not kidding you, he was my horse, and nobody else needed to mess with him. However, if I was there, even a little child could ride him, and he was just as gentle as he could be. As long as I was there, I could ride him through mares, and that's a big thing for stallions. You ride them around a bunch of mares, stallions usually start what they call throwing the studs. They start going crazy. Not him. I could ride him through right next to mares, anything. I could do anything I wanted to with him. Anything. I had him trained to do tricks. He would lay down, he would kneel. Like whenever I'd win a show or something or win a trophy, I would ride up to get my trophy, and I would touch his neck, and he knew that was his signal to kneel down, and he would kneel down like he was bowing, and then I would take the trophy, and then we'd ride out. He was that kind of a horse. Well, well, I'll just tell you that much at this point. Now, all of that's kind of incorporated into this song. So we'll just sing the song for you, and then I'll tell you the tail end of the story. This is in A minor, and I'll just tell you the chord progression in case you're interested. It's A minor, down to G, down to F, and then to E. And it just does that over and over and over. You've heard a song about a horse or two. Well, here's one more, and I swear it's true. the finest horse you've ever seen. And his name was Phantom 614. A proud young stallion with head held high, his coat like satin under candlelight, his mane and tail, oh how they sheen. His name was Phantom 614. Though just a young man at the time, I knew that one day he'd be mine, and I would ride there like a king upon the back of 614. But the trainer said, son, he can't be rode. Now stay away, boy, or you'll be thrown. He said that horse, well, he's just plain mean, and his name was Phantom 614. That horse and I, our souls were one, and without any fear I climbed upon the back of that horse they said was mean. His name was Phantom 614. A one-man horse to me proved true. The people would stare as we'd ride through a sight which few have ever seen. His name was Phantom 614. Yes, his name was Phantom 614. Yeah, that was one of about, I would say, I had quite a few horses growing up, but he was one of maybe 3 that I really cared about. Another one was called Little Fella, and Little Fella was stunted. His growth was stunted. He should have been a full-size horse, but his growth was stunted because his mother died when he was just a baby. He didn't get all the nourishment that he should have gotten. So he ended up being about the size between a pony and a full-size horse. But he was one smart little horse, and I started working with him when he was just a baby. And I had him trained to do every trick in the book. I mean, he was one little smart dude. I could be anywhere, and I'm talking a mile from the house, and I could say, his name was Little Fella. I said, Little Fella, go to your stall. And I'm talking a mile from the house, and he'd run to his stall. You know, and he'd take off on a gallop and he'd go to his stall, you know. And I had him trained to rear up, and he could put his front feet on my shoulders, and, you know, it wouldn't hurt me. And I was just a kid at this time. I was not even a teenager at this time. I can't even remember all the things I had him that he could do. He'd stand up on a little wooden box that I had built that was about, probably almost 2 feet off the ground, and it was just a small square box. And I'd say, stand up on that box, and he'd get up there with all 4 feet and stand on that box, you know, and just anything and anything I wanted him to do, he would do. So that was another little neat horse I had. I had another little horse called Raspberry that was just a real fast horse that I rode, and he about the fastest horse I ever owned. Just stuff, you know, like that. Well, the end of the tale with Phantom 614 was I was a senior in high school. Well, maybe not a senior, junior, senior, somewhere in there. And I came home from high school, and I've told this story before, so some of you have already heard this, but I'm walking up from the bus up the driveway, and I look up on Mom and Dad's front porch. Was level with their blacktop parking lot. It was a concrete front porch, and up on that concrete front porch, there was a almost new motorcycle. And it was one of those big ones, like a big Harley, like not quite that big, not one of them really big ones, but a big motorcycle. It wasn't a little one. And it was like brand new. And I wonder why that's up there. Where'd that come from? So then I went in, changed my clothes, headed down to the barn. And as I'm getting down to the barn, I can see there's like 500 new bales of hay in the barn. I'm going, where did that come from? And then we had stalls all the way around the center portion of this barn. In other words, you could ride around the stalls, so the outside wall, and then there was a space, and then there were inside stalls. Well, I was walking down those inside stalls, and my stall was way around in the back, so I'm walking down these stalls, there's 2 new horses in these stalls. I'm like, where'd they come from? So I get back to my stall. The door was open. So I knew where they came from then. And he got money to boot on top of that. So, but I never saw any of it, and that's just the way it was. And I knew it was that way. In one way, it was terribly disappointing. In another way, it was just like, it's just part of the business. That's just the way it goes, you know. But that was the last horse I ever messed with. I never messed with any more. When I say that, it's sort of true. It's sort of not true. It was the last one I messed with for my dad. My son got a horse not long after that, and man, I'm telling you, this was one rank horse. We bought it about a mile from our house, and it was only about a mile. We didn't have a horse trailer or anything at that time. My son wanted this horse really bad. It was out of my dad's stock, but somebody else owned it. And so anyway, I go up there, we negotiate the deal, and they said, how are you going to get it home? I said, I'm going to ride her home. Well, you can't ride her home. I said, well, why did I buy her if I can't ride her home? And they said, well, she'll throw you, man. She's really barn sour. She won't go away from the barn. She'll rear up. And I said, well, thank you for telling me. So some of you are not going to like this. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to lie to you about it either. So I'm just going to tell you the truth. And this was back before horse whispering, okay? Even though I did do the horse whispering thing with Phantom 614, I did. That's the only way I could handle him. You had to talk to him nice and gentle, or he would go crazy. And that's what my dad couldn't do, and that's why he went crazy. So keep in mind, though, I did that with Phantom, but I wasn't planning to do that with this horse. As soon as they told me the problems and how bad it was, and they said she'll rear up and fall over backwards with you. I mean, she'll hurt you. And she's a big horse. She was a big horse. So I said, all right, thanks for telling me. So I saddled her up, and then I walked over to there was a maple tree there, and I cut off a maple stick about this long, about as big around as my thumb, or maybe a little bit bigger. You know, stripped it down to where it was just a good club. So I get on her, and I start riding her out. Sure enough, we went about probably 10 steps. Up she came, wham, right between her ears. She came right back down. So we went about 20 steps then. She did it again. Wham, she, came right back down. We went about another 50 steps or so. She did it one more time. Wham, she came right back down. I rode her all the way to the house. Never had no more trouble out of her. Sometimes you whisper, sometimes you use a big stick. And that's the truth of it. That horse will hurt you, man. You don't put up with stuff like that. When you got a really bad habit like a horse that bites, you don't whisper to a horse that bites or kicks. You take care of it. They'll kill you. They'll hurt you bad. And I know lots and lots of people in wheelchairs and even seriously injured people because they didn't take care of the problem. So anyway, now as a general rule, I'm a horse whisperer, but when it comes to those kinds of stubborn problems, I do whatever needs to be done. Anyway, that's it. I think I'm done talking. No, well, somebody asked for a Johnny Cash song. I've never done a Johnny Cash song. Well, I shouldn't say never. I mean, I've done them hundreds of years ago. It's probably been 30 years since I've tried to do a Johnny Cash song. So come over here and help me sing this song here, June. I hear the train a-comin', it's rolling round the bend. I ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know when. I'm stuck in Folsom Prison, time keeps dragging on. But that train keeps a-rolling on down to San Antone. When I was just a baby, my mama told me, son, always be a good boy, don't ever play with guns. Well, I shot a man in Reno and just to watch him die. When I hear that whistle blowing, now I hang my head and cry. I bet there's rich folks eating in that fancy dining car, and they're probably drinking coffee and smoking big cigars. Well, I know I had it coming, and I know I can't be free. But that train keeps a rolling, and that's what tortures me. Well, if they free me from this prison, if that railroad train was mine, well, I'd probably move it on a little farther down the line, far from Folsom Prison. That's where I'd like to stay. And I'd let that lonesome whistle blow my blues away. Doesn't have the same effect on a mandolin. Oh my goodness. Yeah, well, there's a first right there. You heard it live. Like I said, you just go for it. When you're on stage, you just go for it. If you screw up, here's another really, really good piece of advice. If you screw up big, and then just laugh it off. If you screw up wimpy, it sounds wimpy. You know, it just sounds wimpy. If you screw up big, you just laugh it off and just keep going. That's good advice for you if you're learning to play and wanting to do. And the other advice I give my students is, if you make a mistake, just play louder. and then I tell them, just kind of a silly thing. I say, that's why people think I know what I'm doing, because I play so loud. Anyway, just stuff. So let's look at the comments here. There's a lot of them scrolled up. We got 130 viewers. Okay, I read the ones beforehand already. So let's see. Looking for question marks or something along those lines. Do I see any? I think I just saw one, but it moved. Terry Anth says, I think she's on her way to American Idol. Hope not. Yeah, she, honestly, you only saw about 80% of what she really sounds like last night, because I listened to the show afterwards. I can't sleep after we play a show. I get adrenaline high or something, and I can't sleep, so I just stayed and watched the show again just to see what I can improve. And I did think of a lot of things I'll do to improve the next one. Each one will get a little better, guys. But anyway, my point is, the link that's in the description, and again, I don't want you to go there yet, but do it after we're done, and you will hear the other 20% that you didn't get to hear last night. I promise you. Oh my gosh. It's seriously good. I'm telling you. Seriously good. I've never heard anybody that good do Patsy Cline except Patsy Cline, and I actually think this girl sounds more like Patsy Cline than Patsy did. I'm seriously telling you. And she doesn't even try. She just lets it roll off her tongue. It's amazing how she does it. Ronald Todd, that girl needs some coaching and should be assigned a music contract in the future. Yeah, I'm her agent, so just come through me. Anyway, I was always scared performing in front of any audience. Like they say, you just have to deal with it. Yeah, I always joke and say I don't get butterflies, I get pigeons. I've probably told this before on the channel, I'm sure I have, but we open for lots and lots of big name country acts. And when you're opening for them, you're generally playing to a pretty big crowd. Well, we were hired to play or open for Charlie Daniels. Now, that was a big deal. I'm seriously telling you that was a big deal. And we opened for lots of other country stars, but Charlie Daniels was a big deal. I don't know why it was so big, but it was such a big deal. They built a custom stage that was about 130 feet long. My house is 144 feet long, so it was as long as my house. It was like 30, 40 feet deep and, like 30 feet high. and it had speakers on the ends, a dual row of speakers on both ends, all the way to the roof line. And the stage was 8 feet above the ground, and there were 8-foot tall speakers all the way across the front of the stage. Well, just pulling up and seeing that's a little bit, a little bit butterfly-ish, So I walk up on stage and they say, it's time for your sound check. So I walk up there with my mandolin and I hit this, my typical thing for a sound check. And he goes, boom! It just took my breath away. I have never heard anything like it. It was so loud. Oh my gosh. Well, it turned out there was 9,600 people in the audience. That's their best guess. All I know, it was wall-to-wall people as far as you could see in any direction. It was nuts. It was absolutely nuts. So we did our show, and I really thought we did okay. I don't think we did great. I thought we did good. I thought we just did okay. Well, before Charlie came on, we were off the stage, and I was back there putting my mandolin in my car, and we were parked right behind the stage. Well, Charlie's bus was right across the parking lot from there, and there were at least 100 people, and probably more than that, in line to get his autograph. They were standing at the steps of his bus. Now, I'm over there with my back to that. I knew it was there, but I'm kind of putting my case away and stuff and organizing. And I hear Charlie say, I hear him come, the door open. I could hear the door open, and I heard Charlie say, folks, I'll be right back to sign your autographs in just a minute. And he walks across the parking lot, comes over and shakes my hand, and he says, I just want to tell you, you boys did a fine job. Thank you very much for doing the opening. Now, that's a class act. Let's see, what else? Yeah, time to reassign the static IPs. Well, Zappa, I have assigned them, and you can believe what you want, but I guarantee you it's that Rose of Luck thing. I don't care what everybody else on the planet can do this. I just can't do it. It's just like the epoxy thing. Everybody on the planet can use epoxy and make it work. I cannot do that. Same way with the static IP addresses. You got to keep in mind, every time I do it, I've got a lot of them to assign. I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got at least 4 computers that I have to assign static IP addresses to. Every single time I've ever done that, and I've done it at least a dozen times, it'll last about a week, and then something happens to blow them out. I don't even remember what the last one was, but I assigned them just 2 weeks ago. I assigned them, and they've already, and I know how to do it. I worked in computers and network and everything for AT&T. I'm no dummy on this stuff. It's just the Rosa thing. I'm telling you, you can believe what you want. My life has been that way my whole life. And the things that other people just do and take for granted, they don't work for me. They just don't. I don't know why. It's just certain things, and it just every single time something will happen. Just like the show yesterday, getting ready for it. This thing has never lost my scenes before, but it sure did yesterday. It's craziness. Hey, we just had a visitor walk in. Come over here and say hi. Look at this.
Hi, everybody.
This is the first time he's been back since he left.
Yeah.
And you know who that is? That's Caleb. Caleb Mills. Caleb Mills Guitars on YouTube. He was, some of you are new, I know, but he was my former apprentice and stayed here for, a year and a half or so?
About that, yeah.
About a year and a half. And really a fine fella, did a really, really nice job. I just love the way that you could coach him and he took instruction. And that's one of the best things I could say about him. And he did a good job. He's got his own business now, and he's working on instruments up in the what area?
It's Archie, but it's south of Kansas City.
South of Kansas City? And how's that all going? Have you got a building built or anything yet?
No, not yet, but, as busy as...
Yeah. Got
you're
doing it
More
out
than
of
most people
You're
have
doing it out of
basement.
the basement of the
Doing it
house.
out of the basement, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's good. All it needs is a table. This is just a little small room. It looks big on camera, guys, but this is a tiny little place here. It's only 24 by 24. Anyway, you might be wondering, well, why is Caleb here? Well, Caleb's here for a reason. I sold him my deer antler mandolin saddle business, and he is going to be the guy to go to get your mandolin saddles in the future. I have decided to just stay out of it at this point. I got so much to do here on the farm, it'll keep me busy for the rest of my life, and I've just decided to give up the rest of it, and it's time to retire. This is my second retirement, you understand. So anyway, he's here to pick up all that stuff, and I'm going to give him a little direction and some suggestions and ideas, and hopefully that'll get back on the going again before very long. Do you have a website where you can sell this stuff?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
It's mills-guitars.com. It's in the description of all of my videos. So if you go over to my channel, it's right there.
Okay. And so you'll have this available where you can click on it and order them right there. And he'll probably have the same options I've had and probably more. You just never know. So we'll talk about all that too in a minute. Let me just see if before we cut away here, let me finish this up real quick and see if there's any other comments. I don't think we have too many more. Well, Paul Lanier made a nice compliment here. He says, every one of you players did a wonderful job Thursday night. Well, thank you very kindly. I appreciate that. Well, I think that's going to be the last word today. I'm going to get busy here with Caleb, and because he's got a long drive and everything, and he may want to be getting out of here. I don't know his schedule. So thank you all for joining me this morning. We got 132 right now, and we will see you probably Monday for sure, and hopefully I'll get some other kind of video out this weekend yet. Thank you.